Craftopia is an upcoming multiplayer adventure RPG game, created by Pocket Pair, who is an indie studio based in Japan who made a card game called Over Dungeon. Recently launched in early September, this game is the ultimate fusion of multiple games and different concepts that made each game unique. For example, Zelda Breath of the Wild to base building games like Satisfactory and Minecraft, this game oozes inspiration from a variety of games all pushed into one game. Now on paper this sounds kind of risky, but it also sounds kind of amazing. You take the best of each game and you shove it into one game. That honestly at first glance is astonishingly beautiful. But the question is, does this actually work? So I played the game a bit and here's what I think. Also, as a quick reminder, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as it helps me out a lot. Okay, so first glance this game is beautiful. The art is spectacular and the map you explore is honestly pretty big. As someone who loves aesthetics in games, this game gets a tick. It has a relatively easy learning curve when you first start and the tutorial is relatively straightforward, but in my opinion the introduction can be a bit clunky, especially if you're looking for a full release game, but you have to remember this is still an early access game. The sound quality as well as the user interface are also really clean and well thought of. It does feel quite polished at first glance and it is pretty easy to navigate. So in my opinion, the first glance, boom, you're kind of just swinging into it and you're enjoying the experience. Okay, so this just gets a bit interesting because there's a lot of gameplay. So let's kind of start off with the overall general concept of the game. You start off as a character briefed into this new world because apparently you destroyed some other world previously. Basically you're here to start off fresh as a Bambi to rebuild into this new world that you've been placed into. The game promises a lot of things, such as dungeons, up to thousands of items you can craft, and more. It's a very ambitious project with a very small dev team, I think around 7 devs at the time. One of the things I love, though, are how active devs are for this game. Even as I'm writing this review, I'm assuming when I release this review, there's gonna be things which I haven't covered just because of how active they are. They're literally chasing up bugs, looking at feedback every single day, and rushing out updates constantly. They even stated that they want to release the full version of the game in I think a year, which many early access games try to avoid, putting kind of a goal date. Okay, so as I mentioned, there's a lot to go through and I just wanted to highlight how active the devs are, so big tick there. But let's break it down one by one now. In this section, I'm going to talk about kind of the combat mechanics, the building and crafting, the hunting, farming, kind of all in one and just everything I can think of. So let's start off with the combat mechanics. So the combat mechanics in Craftopia can seem a bit clunky if you're used to playing games like Dark Souls or Witcher 3, where the combat does feel smooth and you have the ability to dodge almost instantly. However, this isn't really what Craftopia is looking for. Craftopia, yes, you can still dodge and you can still roll, but it has its own charm, and there are a lot of mechanics that's still in the game. For example, you can hide behind a pillar to dodge a boss's attack. One of the most interesting and hilarious things you can do, for example, in the game is grab onto the boss. Matter of fact, you can pretty much grab onto anything in the game, which includes walls, trees, and even, well, you get the picture. For skills, you have a huge variety for magic and physical combat. However, it doesn't feel like you're being punished for choosing one or the other, so you pretty much can just do both. Currently, not all skills are available, but there's definitely still a large selection to choose from. Now, some of the spellcasting can be a bit clunky, so I can see some people getting a bit annoyed about it right now. However, I think it's okay, and I still got used to it. There are also ways to boost your stats as well, which is always cool to have in the game. Right now, in my opinion, the most one thing which I want to point out is there is a lack of content in dungeons, and it does feel quite repetitive, so keep that in mind. If you're after a game purely focused on the combat, you definitely, in my opinion, won't enjoy the current early access release as much, as a lot of content is currently hinged on the building and recipes part, rather than just pure fighting. I also personally think the mobs and bosses don't do enough damage, but that's just my opinion. Overall, the combat isn't too bad honestly, and I did enjoy it, albeit some clunkiness here and there. Okay, so the building and crafting. This is where kind of the juice of the content is right now, and it offers a lot of things. From building your basic structures, to monuments, to automating a whole bunch of stuff and building a farm, etc. It's basically trying to combine concepts from, as I mentioned, Satisfactory, Minecraft, and all these other building games into one. There are also some neat early game items that make the game quite fun, such as the glider. Honestly, just get the glider and just glide around. That pretty much pays for the game itself. but also things like a market that you can sell useless stuff or not used items anymore, and things like a monster prism that is used to capture animals or like I guess Pokemon. Currently building a base is kind of complicated and there are some other issues in my opinion with placing blocks, but I think this should be fixed over time. There are also some really interesting mechanics like needing to burn trees for charcoal, and obviously you can burn animals for fun as well. Also, the game allows for a lot of flexibility with placing structures, as you can see right here, as it's one of the main quests that you have to basically build a staircase into the sky, which pretty much just indicates how flexible the game actually can be, right? And in my opinion, it kind of reminded me of Fortnite a bit, and I know I'm going to get a lot of dislikes for that, but hopefully it kind of does reinforce how interesting the game's buildings can be. In my opinion, it's quite fleshed out already, but the only thing I really point out is just placing blocks and building an actual base can be kind of clunky at times, so just be aware of that. Okay, so I don't know what to call this section, so I decided just to put it under like one general heading. So far my first impressions in this game is, wow, it's pretty awesome for an early access game. It definitely doesn't seem like a complete game just yet, but it's like a pretty good start. One of the things I do, however, is slow the leveling process down, and also remove the ability to level in things such as hitting boxes and barrels. I feel like that's kind of pointless. I feel like even just playing a few hours, you already kind of reached a very high level, and I kind of was very confused why I was already this high of a level, because I was killing and destroying all boxes, so that could be a reason. I think this will help out with the combat because a lot of the mobs felt pretty weak, especially because I was pretty strong already, and the mobs just didn't do enough damage and I felt like I was too strong, and so either or, one of it needs to be kind of improved there. But overall this game has a lot of interesting mechanics. You can teleport into other map areas by building a teleport monument. You can basically, and these maps are all different, so you have a bit of variety and a lot of different type of mobs. You can also play this game in co-op, and although it is a bit glitchy right now, just a reminder that playing this type of games in co-op are kind of rare in like the gaming kind of landscape, and so we should be thankful that this game actually has co-op. Overall, this game is awesome for an early access game. I mean, the devs are so active. That is one of the major reasons why I would back an early access game. And if you're a gamer, you know how important it is to have active devs that are constantly churning out updates. Alright, awesome. So thank you for listening to this first impression review. I'll be doing a very long extended review later down the track when I've played the game a bit more, and also when the game comes out with a bit more updates. Consider leaving a subscribe and like if you like this content. I'll be making more review, explainer, and gaming content just for you. Thanks.